So that always caused a little friction with KRS and I.
Chewed that dude right there. Food on the table. Food.
And one dude slapped me with the pistol.
Food on it. We was rah!
And I just left home. I wasn't abused. My mother. I left on my own. No doubt. No doubt, I left to pursue God.
Before the hip-hop world mourned the tragic shootings of Tupac, Biggie, there was DJ Scott LaRock, the producer who eat the New York streets with South Bronx and The Bridge Is Over. MC Shan didn't quite recover, and Boogie Down Productions now had the streets on fire. And the rapper who Scott discovered battle rapping at his shelter would become KRS-One.
I don't even know how to explain it to you. There's no, I'm not from the street. I'm from the actual street, the curb. I slept on the floor, on the outside, the concrete, like that. So sometimes I went to sleep, I woke up, and it'd be like $10 in my lap. Somebody threw me some money. It was that nigga, a bummy, and obviously I'm stinking, and, it's just, and I'm in the train, but I got South Bronx out. And my social worker, my DJ, Scott LaRock, he's my social worker. But he was a social worker. And he was the guy I used to go to get either welfare checks or tokens, this kind of, to get on the train and all of that. So I'm homeless, you know what I'm saying? I'm in the hood for real. My face cheek was on the curb.
We was, what's the word, homeless. Unquote. That's how we met. Scott worked for the Franklin Men's Shelter, and me and BDP Posse was in there, bugging, running around illin'. Most of the people you see inside shelters are usually, they're there because of the bottle, the crack, the needle, the whatever it is. They're there for a reason. We were there simply because no one else would believe in us, family-wise. No one believed in our music. No one would ever dream. You tell your mother you want to make a rap record. She's, oh no, you're bugging. Get your butt in school and, so on. So, I left home at a very young age.
In a shelter, 166th Street, Boston Road. 700 dudes in there. Crazy.
Just Ice was one of those dudes.
Just Ice was one of these dudes in there as well. So we was going to the bathroom, beating on the bathroom wall, making beats on the bathroom wall, getting it in. If you was whack in that bathroom, dude, your head could be in the toilet. So you had to really know what you was doing. Beat came on the wall, dude was in there hunchback, like, yo. In walks the social worker, Scott LaRock, or his name is Scott Sterling. He walks in listening to the crunchy, boom, boom, bah, bah, we on the wall. So he's like, yo, after a couple of sessions, he was like, yo, I'm a DJ. I'm DJ Scott LaRock. Everybody was like, what? This is the social worker. This is the corniest dude in the building. Social worker. Like, yo.
Oh, man.
He's, yo, I'm DJ Scott LaRock. Yo, come down to Broadway RT. That's why I DJ at. He was like, what? He's like, come on down to the club. I'll put you on the guest list. Drink tickets. We ran down to the club. Got there, everybody's iced out, big bamboo earrings, girls' hair is crazy. Everybody, what is it? Sheepskins, leather, goose bombers.
Sherlin.
We're bums, okay? We're walking in. That day, got into something with somebody right there at Broadway RT, dudes having a cypher. And dudes is out there talking, and what they're saying is, well, he's like, they're biting like Run DMC and Houdini. Like,
right.
They're like, I'm on top of the world and I'll land on you from the planet Mars.
Right.
I'm gonna. And it was like, we was listening, we was like, wow, that's how these dudes sound like that. And it was like, then so, like I said, some dude turned to me and was like, yo, and this bummy dude right here.
Oh, man.
And I was like, what? Chewed that dude right there. Food on the table, food on it. We the nicest dudes in the building.
That's it. Nothing new, nothing new. Them they saying nothing new, nothing new, nothing new. Them they saying nothing new. They run their lyrics through. But when that minutes round, they have not heard nothing new.
I was like kind of confused, you know, whether I want to be a part of the streets or did I want to be a part of music, you know, and get something going on with my life. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was so young, and being that where I grew up is like, you know, a ghetto neighborhood.
Streets, man.
It's the streets, you know. I didn't know whether to get the fast money going or wait for the long run to get some money going with a good career in music and learn other things. So I was kind of caught between that, out on the street, you know, hustling. And one day Scott just talked to me and made me realize there's no, you know, that's not like a long-term thing in the streets, you know. Anything can happen.
When my cousin introduced me to Scott, Scott's thing was, yo, you're going to be in our group. I had no demo. I had never written a rap. He was just like, you're going to be in our group. You're going to be the LL Cool J of our group. So that always caused a little friction with KRS and I. Because Chris was like, who the f is this dude?
Yeah.
Why are you putting him in the group?
Right.
You know, Scott had his plan, you know what I mean? So that was always like one of the things that caused like a little rift between Chris and I. Because I was in the studio with South Bronx. I helped with that record. They were actually in another group called 1242 or something like that. As a homeless kid eating ham sandwiches where he wasn't as preachy as he is now. Like, I respect the new KRS, but I'm a fan of the old KRS, you know? Like, I like when we all used to hang out and do shows and really didn't give a f. Scott was always like, look, you need to learn how to rap, learn how to write rhymes, you need to learn how to produce, you need to learn how to beatbox. And what he said to me was like, if anything were to happen to any of us, your job would be to take over. At the time, when I dropped my album, Chris and I weren't really that cool anymore.
Oh, okay.
And it was just this weird time for us because he, you know, ultimately he didn't want me to make my own records. The young girls would always want to hang out with me, and there was this one particular young lady, you know, I was actually just friends with. No, you know, never messed around with her. She had this boyfriend that was crazy, like this street dude who assumed that everybody wanted her. And one day, I didn't even know what he looked like. One day I called her up and we were talking on the phone, and then he snatched the phone from her like, yo, I don't want anybody talking to my girl. When I see you, I'm gonna kill you. So the thing is, like, you know, back then, you know, there were no cell phones, you know, there was no, you know, I just didn't know who this person was, and I didn't even think about it. Even though I grew up in the rough neighborhood, being like threatened like that, you know, never imagined anything ever happening. A year later, one of my good friends, he was this young hustler dude, came over to get me, which I still to this day believe he set me up. But he came over to the house like, yo, come with me, man. Let's go up, you know, go up the street. Went up to like this High Bridge area, walking by the projects, and then all of a sudden, my friend was gone, and I was surrounded by like 5 people, you know, and I had no idea who they were. Because at that point, now we're blowing up. So, you know, so I really had no idea who these people were. And then he reminded me. Then they pulled the guns out. Then one dude slapped me with the pistol. I called Scott, told him what happened. And he was like, you know, I mean, he was very diplomatic about it. He was like, look, dude, let's come. I'm going to meet you over there. We're going to find them, and we're going to squash the beef. And his thing was, we're blowing up right now. We don't need any issues.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't go the other route. Scott came over, and it's so crazy. It would have been a peaceful mission, but there was one gentleman who was part of our crew that was security. We called him RoboCop, not the RoboCop that was on our records, but this was the first one that we called. He had a hot temper, and so while we're all talking to even one of the dudes from K7, we're all outside by the projects talking, laughing, like, you know, all right, let's find these people, squash the beef or whatever. To the left, Daryl, the guy we called RoboCop, started beefing with some kid, and Daryl was a big dude. Like Daryl stepped off and was talking to some other guy, got into an altercation with him, slammed this kid. So I'm assuming this kid went and got his boys. So while we were all standing there, dudes went up to onto the roof, and they were in the bushes, and then they like literally just ambushed us, like just started firing, you know. And then, you know, we got back into the Jeep, pulled off. The bullets went past me, past the driver, Scott was in the passenger seat, shooting from the left side, and then 2 bullets hit him in the head. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It was case was never solved. Well, that RoboCop at the time, yeah, he definitely. I mean, we never rocked with him again. You know what's so crazy about him, man? He ended up being like the East Side rapist.
Scott LaRock and KRS-One signed a contract to do that album, and the same day that the contract was signed was the same day that Scott got killed. Because after we signed the contract, we all went to McDonald's. Well, not matter of fact, Scott wasn't there. Scott was with DNICE. Chris, Scotty, and Boo Man, and Miss Melody, and everybody else was there. So I'm in my house chilling that night, and I get a phone call from KRS, and he was like, "Yo, Just, he's gone." I'm like, "Who the fuck is gone?" He's like, "Scott, he's gone." I said, "Where the fuck did Scott go?" He was like, "Nah, man, he got killed. Scott is dead."
No, he wasn't around. Scott was hanging out with our other boys and moving into like his new apartment. So Chris was probably somewhere in Brooklyn with Miss Melody. Yeah, so we didn't hang out with Chris. That Scott and I and Mick Boo, who was a part of the group, manager Mo, like we all hung out with each other. Chris was in Brooklyn with Miss Melody. Even back then, it was always Scott and I together. Being a part of the group early on and really not having a role, and how, you know, there was a little bit of distance between Chris and I. It definitely intensified. You know, he was somewhat distant, and it, you know, I probably wouldn't have been in a part of the BDP crew had it not been for manager Mo, who was like, "No, D's in our group. He's in our crew." Chris wanted me to carry the bags after that, so he was definitely like on some asshole dish. He never really said that, but he did blame me. But I never had the conversation that I have with you right now, with you guys. We didn't have that conversation until 3 years ago. Like, I never really talked to him about that night until literally 3 years ago. 3 years ago when we finally like sat down during the Grammys and had dinner with each other, and then we talked about everything. So even at that point, you know, I could tell that probably for all those years that he definitely blamed me for, you know, and I mean, you know, rightfully so. He wasn't there, but he should have asked, and I probably should have had that conversation with him.
So battling isn't really something you do all the time?
Y'all don't even do that in New York no more. I came up here with the idea of the battle. I was really against it, but that's what they wanted to do, so I tried to give them what they wanted. You know, when I say something on vinyl, that's the statement I make. You want to take me out, take me out on wax. That's it. I own my own record company. I'm a young black entrepreneur. I possess a BS degree in management.
So Scott LaRock named the album. I didn't technically name the album. Scott LaRock named the album because he was looking at me and he was always fascinated by my lyrics. Like, my philosophy was for criminal minded. What? It never made it. Stop the Violence, 1, 2, 3 was for criminal minded. Wow. Never made it. I was doing the conscious stuff first. And Scott said, nah, what you're saying in the bathroom of the shelter is what we want to put out. That's what we want to do. So I put all the conscious stuff to the side and said, well, let's get these guns out.